That includes Frank. In fact, the evidence that they did have showed that Frank was indeed in Georgia at the time of the murder, just like he said he was. The prosecution also filed a motion of their own during all of this, one where they asked the court to allow evidence from Derek's internet history to be shown at trial. Because according to prosecutors, on the day of the murder, Derek had shared a very graphic video of someone taking their own life. He shared this with a friend, and he even laughed about it and described it as hilarious. The prosecution argued that this demonstrated Derek's unhealthy fascination with blood, death, gore, and that it showed that he enjoyed violent imagery. So to reinforce that point, they also brought up Derek's obsession with the horror franchise Friday the 13th and how he had planned to dress as Jason for Halloween. Which I have to say, I understand the argument with that. But also, I think somebody who has a fascination with horror or true crime, for that matter, any of us could then, in the prosecution's eyes, be capable of murder. And I don't think that those two things necessarily go together. That's just my opinion. So then, in November of 2025, we were hit with another shocking update in this case. Remember, a huge reason why Derek was getting so much attention from the public was because he was being represented by Jose Baez. But then suddenly, Baez completely withdrew from the case entirely. And in a social media post that he, put up, he said that despite having already spent over $1 million of his own money on Derek's defense, he was throwing in the towel. He said that the judge was placing impossible demands on the defense team and that he just couldn't do it anymore. Which honestly, I have to say, that surprised me. It truly did, because he is no stranger to difficult judges or high-profile, high-pressure cases. I mean, if there's one thing we know about him, it's that he is not afraid of a challenge, no matter how guilty his client may be. So for him to walk away from this, it kind of made me wonder if he withdrew not because he didn't like the judge's demands, but because he realized that Derek didn't have a shot. But Derek's new lawyers ended up saying the exact same thing about the judge, the same thing that Jose did. In fact, in late 2025, they filed 2 separate motions demanding that the judge be removed from the case, saying that he was hostile, he was biased against Derek. However, both motions ultimately were denied. Now, at that point, the defense shifted their strategy. If they couldn't get the judge removed, the next best option was to get all the evidence against Derek removed. So they filed a motion to get several key pieces of evidence out, including Irina's autopsy photos, Derek's interrogation footage, and even parts of the 911 call. They wanted all of that thrown out before the trial.
I believe that anything to do with anything that is outside of Derek Rose's statements, and we agree that the statements that he made, he did initiate the call, he made excited utterances, and he made statements that perhaps we cannot overcome a legal objection. However, anything else relating to his baby sister in that room is highly prejudicial and inflammatory, and it's really irrelevant. Any other statements that the operator made would also be objectionable. His statement. Yeah.
How so? Objectionable in what fashion, ma'am?
As I said, because they led to inflammatory information that has no relevance in this case. For example, testimony, or not testimony, but him answering about a 14-day-old child in that room has nothing to do with the investigation.
As for the interrogation footage specifically, the defense argued that Derek wasn't able to understand his right to remain silent or his right to an attorney. They said that he was simply too young, too distressed, too overwhelmed to make an informed legal decision at the time that he was questioned. Once again, though, the judge ruled against the defense. He denied the motion, and he allowed all of that evidence to be admitted at Derek's trial.